I had this colleague. He was our boss's son. I didn't much care for him at the start. Everyone treated him like he was so bloody special. To me, he just wasn't invested in anything that didn't affect him personally. But I was wrong about him. He became my friend, put himself through hell, and he saved us all in the end. So I reckon, well, I can't apologize to him, but I can try and live up to his example. Sean Hastings, 2015. Hello and welcome to Visions of the Past. My name is Andrew, and I'm the host of this Assassin's Creed lore podcast. This is episode 48, and today we're going to talk about the first modern-day protagonist of the series, Desmond Miles. The character of Desmond was modeled after fashion model Francisco Randez and voiced by Nolan North in the first Assassin's Creed game, Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Assassin's Creed Revelations, and Assassin's Creed 3. Desmond was also mentioned in Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Assassin's Creed Origins, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. We do also see the character in Assassin's Creed Initiates, and he has his own issue of the Assassin's Creed, the official collection. The name Desmond started as an Irish family name meaning south of Munster. A rumor I couldn't confirm stated that the developer on the original Assassin's Creed chose the name of Desmond, incorrectly believing that the name came from the French phrase Desmond, meaning the world. Miles, though, is from the Latin word meaning soldier, making the intended meaning of Desmond's name to be something close to world soldier. Desmond was born on March 13th, 1987, to an unnamed woman and William Miles at a compound called The Farm that was hidden in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Desmond trained as an assassin with other children at the farm under the tutelage of his father. The training was intense to the point that it often scared Desmond. As Desmond grew older, he became bored of the stories of the war between the Templars and the Assassins, resulting in Desmond's underestimating of Abstergo's influence, and eventually concluded that his parents were little more than conspiracy theorists and decided to leave the compound. Desmond started his escape on his 16th birthday. His training allowed him to outrun the assassin assigned to bring him back to the farm. Desmond ended up making his way to New York City, and in 2005, he met an unnamed woman and had a child with her, though Desmond never knew. Eventually, he became a bartender at this place called Bad Weather. While working there, he created a signature drink he called a Shirley Templar, where he added gin to the standard Shirley Temple cocktail. Wanting to avoid the life he left behind, Desmond never used his real name and only paid in cash. Eventually, though, Abstergo did find Desmond after he needed to use his fingerprint to get a motorcycle license. Daniel Cross was the Master Templar leading the group of Abstergo agents on September 1st, 2012, when Desmond was kidnapped. The next day, Desmond woke up in a lab in Rome, where he was held captive and given the name Subject 17 within Abstergo's Animus Project. Dr. Warren Vidic, the head of the Animus Project, first attempted to pry the information he was looking for from Desmond's mind, but with Desmond being fully unconscious, the attempt ended in failure. When Desmond regained his consciousness, he angrily claimed to be nothing more than a bartender. Warren then revealed that Abstergo knew his history as an assassin, forcing Desmond to admit to his former life. Warren, along with Lucy, then explained that they were looking for a specific memory of his ancestor, Altair ibn La'ahad, a member of the Levantine Brotherhood of Assassins during the time of the Third Crusade. But Desmond's subconscious was resisting them. Warren then threatened Desmond that if he didn't help them, that they would induce a coma, get their information, and then leave him to die, even if it was a slower process. With the threat of his death, Desmond agreed to help. Over the next 7 days, Desmond relived Altair's life during the summer of 1191. But at night, Desmond was able to sneak out of his room and read through the emails of Warren and Lucy. Here, he learned much about Abstergo, his predecessor, Subject 16, and about the bleeding effect. Eventually, a group of assassins attempted to break Desmond out, but that mission was unsuccessful. After the failed rescue attempt, Warren boasted about how the farm had been destroyed and that the team sent to rescue him was all that was left. After Warren left the room, Lucy assured Desmond that the farm was found deserted and that his parents probably got away, finally revealing herself to be an assassin. The next day, Desmond finally synced the memory that Warren was looking for so that he could see a map of the locations of ancient artifacts from across the world. After this revelation, Warren received a call from Abstergo executives, telling him to terminate Desmond's life. Lucy fought to save Desmond by saying that they might need his memories in case there are any surprises at these locations. After Warren and Lucy left the room, Desmond had a vision of symbols he didn't understand that seemed to be written in blood. The next morning, Lucy showed up covered in blood, telling him that they were leaving. When trying to ask any questions, Lucy asked him to trust her and to get into the Animus. This time, Lucy compared Desmond's DNA to Subject 16's and had Desmond relive the birth of a shared ancestor, Ezio Auditore da Firenze. After pulling the memory core from the Animus, Lucy and Desmond fought their way out of Abstergo's facility, eventually making it to the safety of an assassin hideout, where Desmond agreed to fight the Templars and met Sean Hastings and Rebecca Crane. The goal here was to train Desmond to be a better assassin by leveraging the bleeding effect to absorb years of training from Ezio in a matter of days. During his time in the Animus, Desmond also found a hidden video left by Subject 16 that informed him that the history of humanity isn't exactly what he thought it was. After a few days of training, Lucy and Desmond activated the hideout security system to test out Desmond's free-running abilities. During the activity, Desmond hallucinated from Altair's lifetime. While they were short, Lucy said that they were nothing to worry about. After setting up the security system, however, Desmond ended up incapacitated from a vision of Altair and Maria Thorpe from when they conceived their son, Seth. Awakening the next day, Desmond continued to work through Ezio's memories, until Ezio went after Rodrigo Borgia in late 1499. That memory concluded with Ezio receiving a message from the long-dead Isu Minerva. Minerva gave an account on the war between the Isu and the humans, and that a catastrophe was coming to the end of the world. Speaking directly to Desmond, Minerva told him that he was the one that had to save the world. After Desmond received the message, he was forced out of the Animus because of the arrival of Warren Vidic and Abstergo's security. Desmond, now fully trained through Ezio's memories, helped Lucy fight them off, but Abstergo, finding them still, required them to leave the hideout. As the team headed north, Desmond spent his time in the Animus searching for anything about the message that they could have missed. On September 16, 2012, the team arrived at Monteriggioni and set up within the sanctuary of the Villa Auditore. To get into the sanctuary, though, Desmond and Lucy had to travel through the tunnels underneath and unlock the door for Sean and Rebecca. Seeing numbers on the wall opposite the door, Sean theorized they were dates, but realized that he did need to do more research on them. After unpacking the equipment, Desmond rerouted enough power from the city's power grid by using siphons that Rebecca had made, while Sean parked the van. After returning to the sanctuary, Desmond jumped back into the Animus to relive more of Ezio's life. But this time, instead of training, Desmond was looking for the location of the Apple of Eden that Minerva had touched during her message to Desmond. After almost a month of Animus sessions, Desmond found that Ezio had hidden the apple in an Isu vault beneath the Colosseum in Rome. The Animus lost power before the team could figure out how to open the door to the vault. On the way out of the sanctuary, Desmond remembered the numbers, and this put Sean into thinking, and realized that with the Tetractris, the numbers, they weren't dates, but verses in the book of Exodus that refers to the 72 names of God. Sean then realized that the Colosseum was built in the year 72, seemingly confirmed to them that the password was 72. After the team arrived at the Colosseum, Desmond ran through the bowels of the structure, while Lucy, Rebecca, and Sean went to another entrance on Capitoline Hill. Once the team made it to the entrance of the vault, Desmond spoke the password, and the door opened to his voice. Making their way down to the central chamber, Desmond ended up traversing a series of platforms and swings to open a way to the apple. Once Desmond picked up the apple, it produced numerous symbols. When Sean started talking about two of them, the Phrygian cap and the Masonic eye, him, Rebecca, and Lucy were all frozen in place, while Desmond was contacted by Juno and Isu, who left messages about her thoughts on the war between Isu and humans en route to the vault. Juno said that Desmond's DNA had activated the apple and took control of his body through it. Through this control, Desmond stabbed Lucy with his hidden blade and then collapsed from the shock of the ordeal. Desmond's father had him placed in the Animus, and during this session, Desmond relived a memory of Ezio's, where he found a smaller vault within Rome with Leonardo da Vinci that ended with them seeing a set of coordinates, but not understanding their meaning. After this session, Desmond fell into a coma, and William noted that these coordinates were meant as a place for Desmond to go. Desmond woke, not knowing what had happened at first, inside the Animus. He did realize this, though, when he met a virtual construct of Subject 16 himself, Clay Kazmarek. Clay explained to Desmond what had happened to his mind, and how it has resulted in him being in a coma, and that he needed to continue reliving his ancestors' memories until they had nothing left to show him, and reach something that Clay called a sync nexus. Clay also told Desmond that if he hurried, he might be able to make Lucy's funeral. This caused Desmond to flash back to the events that caused his coma, filling him with regret for what had happened. During his coma, Desmond was able to hear what was happening with his body and the general mood of the team, including his father's thoughts that he thought Desmond was the only one in the group that could activate the apple. During his time with Clay, Clay asked Desmond if he regretted anything in his life, which Desmond responded that he wished he had been more patient with his mother and father, and wishing things with him and Lucy had gone differently. Desmond also took time to reflect on his own life and regretted not listening to his parents and coming to terms with his role as an assassin, realizing that his easiest days were behind him, but not wanting them anymore anyway. Eventually, the Animus detected his presence and started to delete everything within its memory. Clay held Desmond close, and in Desmond's confusion, told him that he was trying to save his life. As the Animus scanned both of them, Clay pushed Desmond back through the portal he came out of, sacrificing himself and allowing Desmond to relive Ezio's final memories. This memory saw Ezio discovering the Apple of Eden that Altair held during his life. It also began to glow, and Ezio called out to Desmond, knowing that he was listening. Ezio urged Desmond to make sense of all of his questions and suffering, finally directing him into the Sync Nexus. In the Sync Nexus, Desmond was confronted by a third Isu, this time Jupiter. Jupiter explained that his race built vaults all over the world, each researching different methods to stop the impending solar flare, and that each discovery was transmitted to a grand temple where he, Minerva, and Juno sorted through them and tested the 6 most promising. Each test failed, but they did see a breakthrough emerging, though the solar flare hit before they could reach a working solution. Jupiter then gave Desmond the mission to visit the Grand Temple and to take his words and use them to open the way. Desmond woke from his 20-day coma on October 30th, and after seeing that he was with Sean, Rebecca, and his father William, he told them he knew what to do. It wasn't long, and the group was at the Grand Temple unloading their equipment. On the way in, Desmond used Ezio's apple to open the main entrance, finding a power cube shortly after. When Desmond placed the cube in its power socket, he was forced into a brief fugue state. During this time, he relived a memory of Haytham Kenway, showing Desmond that he needed another key to fully open the temple. After reliving Haytham's memories and some of Haytham's son Radagahedon, Sean and Rebecca had a lead on another battery. On November 16th, 2012, Desmond retrieved a power cube from a Manhattan office building. While reliving more of Radagahedon's memories, Desmond occasionally left the Animus to explore the temple and receive messages from Juno about the methods that were used in an attempt to save the world from the first solar flare. On December 2nd, 2012, Desmond headed to Sao Paulo, Brazil, to retrieve a battery from the wife of a wealthy business tycoon, to find that she had been murdered by Daniel Cross. Desmond, having dealings with Cross in Manhattan, was able to get the cube from him and leave the city. Shortly after returning to the temple, the team found a third battery. This time, though, William decided to take this final mission on alone to allow for Desmond time to find the final key to the temple. William ended up being captured on his mission in Cairo by Juhani Atzo Berg and taken to Rome. Warren Vidic sent Desmond an ultimatum: give us the apple, or we'll kill your father. Desmond arrived at Abstergo's facility in Rome, using the apple to make his way to Vidic after killing Daniel Cross. After a brief conversation, Desmond used it to have the guards kill Vidic, and themselves, saving his father. After killing Vidic, Desmond returned to the temple with his father, Sean, and Rebecca, and after finishing Ratagehetan's memories, they found that he had buried the key at the Davenport homestead in Massachusetts. The team retrieved the key on December 20th, 2012, and after retrieving this key, they headed back to the temple and opened the deepest chambers of the Grand Temple. Within the central room, the team found a large orb set on a pedestal. Here, they were greeted by Juno, who told Desmond that to save the world, all he had to do was touch the orb. After she said that, though, Minerva appeared, urging Desmond not to do it, and explained that Juno had used Isu technology in an attempt to control the world, and not to save it. And to stop her, they sealed her within the Grand Temple, but if the orb was activated, it would release her and kill Desmond. Shocked by Minerva's appearance, Juno told her to show Desmond what would happen if the solar flare was not stopped. Minerva told a story of the majority of Earth's population dying, that a small amount would survive, and that Desmond would become a symbol of love and hope for the new world. Though, after his death, his message would eventually be corrupted and misinterpreted by those who followed him, leading to war and repeating the cycle of religious conflict throughout human history. Minerva continued to plead with Desmond to let the flare hit and not release Juno. Desmond responded that there would still be a slim chance to stop Juno, while if the flare hit, there would be no hope, and that he had made up his mind. Desmond then turned to William, Sean, and Rebecca, and told them to get as far away from the temple as they could. William pleaded with him that they would find another way, but Desmond refused, telling him that it was too late. In the early hours of December 21st, 2012, after his team left, Desmond touched the orb, causing burns intense enough to fuse the bones of his arm together, and at the same time, he released Juno and caused a global aurora borealis that kept the solar flare from hitting the Earth, and caused Desmond's ultimate death. This wasn't the end for Desmond, though. His body was collected by Abstergo, where they extracted DNA from his body to use in the project that would be later called Sample 17. This project dove deeper into his genetic memories to find even more Isu artifacts. This DNA was also used to confirm that he was the father of Elijah, a sage that Dr. Alvaro Grammatica wanted to kidnap and dissect, and Isabel Ardant wanted to put in an animus so she could study the genetic memories of Elijah's ancestors, and the Isu Aita. The character of Desmond is often considered an example of a trope called the Chosen One. This trope, often aligning closely with Mary Sue characters, is where a seemingly common character turns out to have a hidden special trait that allows for only them to be able to do a specific task. For Desmond, this is his connection to the bloodlines of Altair, Ezio, and the Kenways that resulted in a high level of Isu DNA, and because of this, is the only one who can save the world from catastrophe. Desmond is able to stay away from being a Mary Sue character that can do anything without any real explanation, through his time in the Animus, learning about his ancestors, and using it to train to be a physical assassin. At first, I didn't like Desmond. He just rubbed me the wrong way. But as the series continued and he grew as a character, I grew to like him, and by the time of his death, I was sad to see him go, but glad that in the end he was able to save the world. After his death in Assassin's Creed 3, we have seen Desmond show up in other games, most recently in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, through recorded messages talking about his feelings on being born into the Brotherhood, and why he ran from it, and his experience with the bleeding effect. I have yet to finish the story of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so I don't know for sure if he comes back in more than just a few audio recordings. But it does feel that after 8 years, if he was going to come back, that he would have come back by now. I am excited to see his story continue through his 15-year-old son Elijah, when he comes to an age where telling his story becomes appropriate. Thank you for joining me today. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday for new episodes. If you love the Visions of the Past podcast, I'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on Apple Podcasts. If you have any questions about Assassin's Creed or topics that you'd like me to cover, please feel free to hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at visions_AC. You can find those links in this episode's show notes. Until next time, my assassin friends, make sure to follow the Creed, and to those Templars listening, may the Father of Understanding guide you.